The Bridgerton series shows a beautiful and fancy world of the Bridgerton era, with elegant dresses, grand balls, and lovely settings. But the real daily life of women during this time was quite different, and involved many everyday activities that we might find surprising today. In the Bridgerton era, the day for most women started early. Wealthy women might wake up around 9 a.m., while those without many servants got up as early as 6 a.m. Their mornings began with basic hygiene, which meant washing their faces and hands. Full baths were rare because heating water was difficult and time-consuming. Breakfast was usually around 9 o'clock to 10 a.m. It was a light meal compared to today's standards, often including rolls, muffins, toast, eggs, and drinks like tea, coffee, or chocolate. Families gathered for breakfast, read letters, and planned their day. After breakfast, women engaged in various activities based on their social status. Married women or mistresses of the house would talk to housekeepers and servants about the day's meals and chores. Young, unmarried women spent their late morning and early afternoon practicing musical instruments, working on needlework, or reading. These activities were not only hobbies, but also important skills in society. Social visits, known as morning calls, were a big part of the day from late morning until early afternoon. These visits were short, usually about 15 minutes, but they were very important for maintaining social connections. Women dressed in their best clothes for these visits and often changed outfits several times a day to suit different occasions. When hosting, a proper lady would offer tea, cakes, and fruit to her guests. Lunch, known as luncheon, was light and informal, often served where the family happened to be. It could include cold meats, fruits, cakes, and drinks. Luncheon was not as elaborate as dinner, and it occurs between 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Afternoon activities varied. Women might take walks in the garden, visit friends, or attend more structured social events like assemblies or card parties. These activities provided opportunities for socializing and sometimes courting. The late afternoon was also a time for quieter activities like writing letters or reading. As evening approached, women changed into more formal clothes for dinner, which was the main meal of the day, and served between 6 o'clock and 7 p.m. Dinner was a significant event with multiple courses and strict etiquette. The seating arrangement was based on social rank, and after dinner, men and women often separated. Men would stay behind to drink and talk, while women retired to the drawing room to continue socializing or engage in light entertainment like music and card games. Tea was served once the men rejoined the women, offering another chance for socializing. This was often followed by various forms of evening entertainment. In households like those in Bridgerton, evenings might include reading aloud, playing the piano, singing, or engaging in games. Mostly after dinner, it was common to head out during 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Popular activities included going to the theater for a play or musical, attending a ball, or taking part in other fashionable social events. Around midnight, after a social event like a ball or play, guests were often served a light meal. This meal included bread, rolls, cold meats, cheeses, small pastries, and sweet treats. Alcohol, especially champagne, was common, along with other drinks like wine, ale, tea, and coffee. Gentlemen's clubs also provided a late-night meal for their members, so men might return home a bit late. If a family went out for the evening, the house staff would have a light meal ready when they returned, such as sandwiches and fruit. If there were guests at home or a house party, a cold supper was usually served around midnight. Nighttime in the Bridgerton era was not just about sleep. It also included various activities before bed. After the evening's social events, women would return home, often late at night, especially after a ball or a grand party. These events could last until the early hours of the morning. Upon returning home, women would change out of their formal evening attire and into nightgowns. This was a ritual that often required the help of a maid, especially for removing the intricate hairstyles and numerous layers of clothing. Hair care was an essential part of the nighttime routine. Women brushed their hair, often 100 strokes, to keep it healthy and shiny. They might also wrap their hair in paper or cloth to maintain curls for the next day. Personal hygiene before bed was basic. Women would wash their faces and hands, sometimes using scented water. Toothbrushing was done using a toothbrush made from horsehair and tooth powder, made from ingredients like crushed shells or baking soda. In households with servants, the bedroom would be prepared for the night. This included warming the bed with a heated brick or pan, especially during the colder months. The room would be lit with candles, which were extinguished before sleep. Also, the window was closed, because it was believed night air was unhealthy to breathe. Women also spent time writing in journals or letters before bed. This quiet time allowed them to reflect on the day's events and plan for the next. Reading was another common nighttime activity. Women might read a book or a passage from the Bible, either alone or aloud to family members. Finally, the lady would go to sleep around 1 a.m. mostly, ready to start another busy day in the Bridgerton era. Gardening was another common activity for women, providing both practical benefits and leisure. Women often tended their own flower beds, seeing it as a respectable and enjoyable hobby. It allowed them to contribute to the home's aesthetics and provided fresh flowers for decoration. Charity work was also an important part of a Bridgerton woman's life. Many women engaged in charitable activities, visiting the poor and sick and supporting local causes. Travel was another aspect of Bridgerton life. Women traveled for social visits or holidays to places like Bath or Brighton. These trips were often lengthy and required much preparation, but they offered a welcome change of scenery and new social opportunities. The journey itself, usually by carriage, could be an event filled with stops at coaching inns and interactions with a broader slice of society. The daily routine of women in the Bridgerton era included many activities that are still familiar today, such as reading, writing letters, and socializing with friends. However, these activities were often governed by strict social rules and expectations. For example, social visits were usually kept short, and there were specific times of day when it was appropriate to call on someone. One of the most notable differences between the Bridgerton era and today is the amount of time women spent managing their households. Even wealthy women with many servants had to oversee the running of their homes and ensure that everything was in order. This often involved tasks like planning meals, organizing social events, and managing household finances. Women also spent a significant amount of time on their appearance. Dressing for different occasions required multiple changes of clothes each day, and many women spent hours on their hair and makeup. Fashion was an important part of social life, and women were expected to keep up with the latest trends. Physical activity was also a part of daily life for many Bridgerton women. Walking was a common activity, both for exercise and as a way to visit friends and neighbors. Some women also enjoyed horseback riding, although this was more common among the wealthier classes. Bridgerton show captures some parts of women's lives in the Bridgerton era, but it is still a lot different from their daily life. It's important to remember that women worked hard and followed strict social rules. Despite the challenges, their lives were full of opportunities, and their experiences still fascinate and inspire us today. If you liked the video, give us a like and subscribe for more content about the Bridgerton era.